folks, my name is Gray, this is Consoletronix, where of late I have been on an 8-bit micro binge, having recently dug out my ZX Spectrum Plus 2 computer and been reminiscing fondly about all the colour clashing and dodgy keyboard inputs that was such an integral part of many of our childhoods. And I'm well aware of the fact that many of you out there don't consider this to be a legitimate Spectrum on account of the fact that it was manufactured by Amstrad following Alan Sugar's hostile takeover of Uncle Clive's computer business following the spectacular failure of the Sinclair C5. But I'm not here today to talk to you about hardware or the stupid decisions that bankrupted companies. Or am I? Because the subject of today's video is another unsung studio who had also played their part into moulding the early video games industry into what it is today before, just like Sinclair, they too would be consumed by a cutthroat competitor and are now all but forgotten. So join me in my look at a selection of 8 arcade sizzlers ported to the Spectrum with the Taito Coin-Op Hits collection. And we begin with the barbarian-themed beat-em-up Rastan, a true 8-bit classic hack-and-slash side-scroller that was ported to quite a few home systems, and the Spectrum edition, brought to us by the Ocean-owned Imagine software label, is a rare instance of a cut-down arcade game retaining all the charm and playability of the original. But if you'd like to see a deeper look at the series as a whole, check out my Rastan retrospective, the link to which will be at the end of the video. You couldn't move without stubbing your toe on a breakout clone back in the early 1980s, but Taito's Arcanoid, released in arcades in 1986 incredibly, may have been fashionably late to the blockbusting party, but tickle my todger if they didn't just perfect the formula. It may be the video game adaptation of throwing a tennis ball against the wall, but it's bloody brilliant. And considering Arcanoid games are still being produced for all current gen systems, the simple fun and addictive nature of the original has truly stood the test of time. Not quite sure why this port of the 1987 arcade is included here, as I'm 99% sure this is a Tower Plan game. But hey ho, as a massive fan of shoot 'em up specialists Tower Plan's arcade portfolio, I'm intrigued to see some of their earlier titles running on the humble Specky. And I must say, despite the drawbacks like monotone graphics, no music and grating sound effects, there is a tremendous fast-paced little shooter here. A sequel entitled Fire Shark would follow exclusively for the arcades and Sega Mega Drive, but Flying Shark is still a rock-solid shoot-'em-up classic. Well, it's been all killer and no filler thus far, but unfortunately all good things come to an end with the ninja-filled flail-em-up Legend of Kage. Pretty popular in its day, and a US 8-bit Nintendo release means it's remembered fondly by those who put time into it. But this version is simply rubbish. Stick to the far superior Saboteur from Durrell Software for your ninja thrills on Spectrum. Bobble is one of my all-time favourite games. I played it on the Master System longer than was probably healthy for me, so I was slightly apprehensive about trying this one. And while the graphics are pants, the perfectly tuned gameplay of the Taito classic has carried over well to the 48K Spectrum. The 128K had music, but regardless, this is a fine port, and out of all the games in this collection, this is the one I easily sank the most hours into. Great game. Slap Fight, another Tower Plan oldie, is one of the rarer Japanese exclusive Mega Drive titles, with copies trading hands for hundreds of quid. The Spectrum port of the 1986 arcade is a simpler affair, as you'd imagine, but while the arcade had a slow feel to it, this version at least has a spring in its step, although the difficulty surprised me. Unlimited lives help, but when the enemy bullets are the same colour as everything else, it wanders ever so slightly into unfair territory. Pretty good, but Light Force from Gargoyle Games still retains its crown as king of the Spectrum shoot-'em-up library. Guess who's back? Yeah, I think I mentioned that creaky old Arcanoid is still knocking about with new releases like Arcanoid Eternal Battle from 2023, which was fun. But here's the Spectrum stab at the first follow-up from 1987, Arcanoid 2 Revenge of Doe, which despite the addition of a few bells and whistles, is hardly a massive leap over the original's break blocks with the ball formula. Fun and very playable, but nothing new. We kicked off proceedings with a beat-em-up, so I guess it's fitting we'd close with another. While hardly known in the US despite an NES port, this graphically tweaked version of Taito's Double Dragon predecessor, Kunio-kun, would prove hugely popular in Europe under the title of Renegade across all computer formats, with a whole bunch of European exclusive sequels. But the original, as bare bones and simplistic as it is, still has a certain charm, and once you master the few moves and the enemy patterns, can still be fun in small doses. So that's it folks, I hope you enjoyed. I rarely cover the computer systems, but if you'd like to see more Spectrum, Commodore 64, Amiga or Atari ST action, let me know. My arm can be twisted. So thank you very much for watching, more videos coming your way soon. So until the next time, goodbye.